Welcome to the Sparkle Sounds tutorial. Here I'm going to show you how you can use the Crystaline Motion Sparkle Pack by Radium to spice up and layer into other sound designs. Here's a clip of a short game in which I've added sparkles to 8-bit sound effects. Very simple kind of 8-bit sounds layered with sort of sparkle sounds to just give extra bit of a complexity. So I'll start with the coin collect. So that's kind of simple 8-bit sound I made in Serum. And I wanted to add more of kind of a sparkle element just to kind of emphasize the coins we see in the visual and kind of the reward aspect of getting that coin. So I searched in Basehead for Twinkle and found this. So I'm going to use this as kind of a source file. So I've picked this very specific part. Very simple, very basic, but I've kind of taken all the low end out, so it's not tonal, controlled some of the top end, given it some reverb to make it a bit more natural, and some gain just to bring the level back up, which creates that, and together with the 8-bit sound. So it just adds some sheen, kind of, again, emphasizes that reward aspect of it, and kind of that you're receiving points in the game. I also thought I needed more of a coin effect, kind of a more prominent one. So I've taken from the same file and found this. So this gives that kind of almost shaking coin effect. And again, I've taken a lot of the low end out, kept a bit of the mids in, and some reverb, again, just to smooth it out. To create that. Again, simple, sparkly, all together. And then that can be used as kind of a single asset of each time a coin is collected. So what I've done, of course, is just bounce that out into one. And then in Wise, you of course use that to be triggered for each time a coin is picked up. However, because I'm staying in Logic, I'm just going to sample it and kind of layer it out with the video. To go about that, you kind of right click it, just select convert to new sampler track. Select region, so the MIDI event will trigger the entire region and not just certain transients within that. Press enter, creates this track, and then just sync it to the visuals. So yeah, very simple, but again, that sparkle really adds a bit of complexity to the sound. Now look at the end box part. Again, I created the box 8-bit sounds in Serum. And I've kind of increased the harmony as the points increase. And I've also layered that in with the coin collect layer to emphasize the reward. And to further do that, I've decided to add a spell. And so I've kind of taken out the low end again, bit of reverb, and then sampled it, and then kind of staggered the velocities in the MIDI. So the M1 is the loudest and it's the most rewarding. And then all together. And now onto the jump. This is very similar to kind of the coin collect. So I've created a 8-bit jumping sound in Serum. And to make it unique, I've taken the transient of one of the spells. So this will add a great bit of character, but again, I've only taken a tiny snippet. Bit of EQ, bit of reverb, and I've also added just a touch of a whoosh layer just to emphasize the motion. And again, I've bounced that out into one single asset and put that into a sampler and just sunk it with the video. These sounds really are just great for just being able to add some real uniqueness to your sound design, just to use as kind of source files, just to kind of mix in little layers here and there, just really add some great character to them. And let's look at the intro title. So here on top of kind of whooshing effects and kind of transient, I've used a glint. I've also used kind of pitch shifting, which you can do in Logic by creating a fade, then right clicking on top of the fade and selecting speed up. That will create the kind of vinyl effect. Stretch it as long as you need, and it creates that kind of wacky effect. So that kind of emphasizes the motion we have at the start. I've added some reverb, again, just to make it smoother. And so we end up with this. Now let's look at the boing, the kind of springy jump part. So here, I've used the kind of boing effect I've made in a synth. And then I've also layered that with a puffing spell, kind of just to give it that motion, give it that bounce, give it that kind of energy. And I also added this Harlequin spell, which had some very unique kind of layers, which I thought worked nicely with the visual, were quite different. And so all together. And finally, we have kind of the end bit with the logo and the character landing on the plate. So I've used a kind of ping spell, kind of transient, kind of emphasizes the landing motion, and also it brings in the titles quite nicely. And finally, we have the logo. Here I've kind of used a lot of different spells and kind of layered them in to play off each other. This pack is great for logos, brilliant to bring some glamour and some motion to kind of logo moments. So here's what I have here. Pretty simple. I've kind of controlled each element and kind of balanced them within each other so they're not overpowering each other. I've also used a bit of reverb on a couple of them just so they sit together nicely. And here I've also just taken the bottom end from one. Just a very subtle layer underneath just for that final bit of motion. Altogether we have this. So that's it for this tutorial. If you're interested in learning any more or picking up the Sparkle Sound pack yourself, please visit sparklesound.com. Thank you very much and have a Merry Christmas.